introductions. We have Osvel Garza, who's a Lexicon person just sitting here, second in from my left. Osvel's a delivery manager and he'll be working with me actually pretty closely. He looks after one of our largest clients at the moment on a daily basis. We've got Dave Marsh at the end here, who's an Endava. He actually was employee number 3, I think. And he looks after the payments vertical for Endava, which is, I think, it's the biggest industry vertical.
Yeah, by revenue.
Yeah, by revenue in the business, which, so we're going to explore that topic tonight a little bit more. We've got Narendra Tumkur, who's to my left, and Narendra comes from a part of the business which is called Catalyst, and Catalyst is where all the smart people work. But no, Catalyst is really, like, as the name suggests, Catalyst is the spark really that sort of ignites the conversation with a client, where we bring specialist expertise with industry vertical knowledge to a conversation to help solve a problem. And I hope I've explained that in the right way. And then finally we've got Shelley Beeston, who's a delivery partner. She's from Lexicon as well. Shelley and I actually go way back. We used to work together at previous companies, and she's also working with me as part of the Lexicon business into 24. So just big round of applause for everyone on the panel. So maybe just first question to the panel tonight is just around this notion of being stronger together. I know we've spoken about it as part of the opening, but I'd be really interested to get your thoughts on what it actually means to you, and perhaps even how it might benefit our people or our clients, moving forward from today. So I might just start with you, Naren, to my left.
I was hoping if I sat right next to you, you wouldn't pick on me first, but before we start, I just want to acknowledge that this is a true fireside chat right there.
We do, we've got candles actually, yeah.
I think Stronger Together was an apt kind of slogan that we picked for the integration process. And I kind of go back to the very beginning that Steve was talking about way back in 2020 when we landed in Australia. We kind of had a vision to be as impactful with our clients as we are in the rest of the world. We wanted that same thing here in Australia. And us coming together really helps us, is what is enabling us to realize that vision. We now have a formidable close to client presence here in Australia. And that allows us to really empathize with our customers the way we do in the rest of the world. And the synergies that kind of exist, as Chris and everybody else has been talking about so far, are real. We approach our customers in the same way. We approach understanding their problems in very much the same way. And the solutions that we come up with in addressing those problems are in the vein of doing the best thing by the customer. And that's that synergy that exists, and I do believe we're stronger together.
Thanks, Taryn. Shelley.
Sure, yeah. When I think of Stronger Together, I mean, obviously there's lots of different benefits that come from, for all of us here in terms of people, our customers. When you bring different sort of companies together, there's lots of new capabilities, relationships, et cetera, I think I'm going to talk about an example that I think illustrates for me what Stronger Together means, because that's all great, but to realise the potential of Stronger Together, we need to think about how we work and play together. So the example that I had actually was last Sunday. I'm part of this UBX training. I don't know if anyone knows. It's like 12 round circuit. Usually do it individually. You have like 3 minutes in each round, and basically you do press-ups, boxing, and various other things. Anyway, that's the gym sort of stuff. But they got us all together last Sunday, and instead of being individuals, we were coming together as a team. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So it had 3 stages to the day. The first part of the day, it was half a day. Anyway, we had us as individuals, so we had something like 10 minutes. We had a certain amount of exercise that we had to do on our own, and we had a target and a time limit. The second stage was actually we were partnering up with someone. So we partnered up with someone. The third stage was actually we've got a set of tasks that we need to do as a team. And the actual change of how it felt from being an individual to a partner to a team felt very different. When I got into a partner, we could help each other. We got a bit of a break. That person was like, you know, as they were sort of doing the push-ups, I was sort of gearing them on and supporting them. So it felt a very different dynamic, and there was definitely that sort of level of support and connection, encouragement. But when we got into the team, that was we had 2 teams separated, and what I think demonstrates Stronger Together was through, first, what's our game plan? We've got like 3,500 metres of rowing that we need to do. We've got push-ups, we've got press-ups, and they're all various levels of complexity or ability that need to be done. So we first spoke about what a game plan is, and that was actually going, well, what are each of our strengths and where are we weak? So someone went, oh, I'm a gun at rowing. So I was like, awesome, you're going to do most of the rowing. Someone else said, I'm a gun at press-ups, etc. So you get the idea. We all had our different strengths that we were going to play the game in. And then obviously the exercise started, and there was very few people. Well, I was one of them. I think I was doing some push-ups, but I was absolutely exhausted, and then someone else took over. So when someone was weak, and when someone got exhausted, someone else took over. So for me, that really illustrated what Stronger Together meant, because it was like support each other when you're down, play to your strengths, be open about your vulnerabilities. So to me, that's about working and playing together. And I chatted to the trainer after the session, and he said a really good quote, which I really like actually, and he was like, you can have a team of legends, right? All awesome in what they do, but if they don't work and play together, they're going to fail. But you can have a legendary team, and the legendary team are the ones that actually are open, learn from each other, support one another. And I thought that was, anyway, for me, that illustrated Stronger Together very well.
Thanks, Shelley. Osvel. We're going to pass on to Dave, sorry. Yeah, my mistake.
Cool. So for me, I guess I'll break it down into 2 different sides, I guess. From a client perspective, I think of what Stronger Together means and how it benefits our clients. First of all, obviously, the scale in terms of the ability to be able to deliver things, because there's a lot more of us, kind of an obvious one. Secondly, I'm the industry person on the payment side. There are people like me all around the world within Endava, in the US and in the UK, and we're all connected to each other. And so for a payments client who comes to speak to us in Australia right now, we can give them a global perspective on payments. We can reach out to different regions. We can see what's trending around the globe. We can take lessons that we've learned in different areas, and we can apply them for Australian customers. So there's a real benefit there. And the third thing is being able to tap into different areas of expertise from a technology perspective. And so to give you some context, about a month or so ago, I was speaking to a client, or I had a meeting with a client, and my sense was they were going to be interested in facial biometrics. And so I was able to reach out within Endava's network and find that actually we've got a project going in South America right now with a bunch of engineers that are working, leveraging an open source facial biometrics solution and being able to leverage that for a client. And so being able to tap into sort of very niche technologies as a larger network is a real benefit from a client perspective. From a staff perspective, I look at it, there's a few advantages here as well. So I'm the payments expert. If you have a particular interest in a particular industry, that really opens it up as an avenue now. You know, whether it's mobility, retail, payments, banking, whatever, there are options now to specialize if that's what you choose to do. Also from a job function perspective as well, there are more options. So obviously if you want to become an architect or a salesperson or an SME, there are more roles to choose from, and so it gives more career pathways for our people. And the final thing that I will call out is if you're working with a client and they've got a particular technology stack and there's a really difficult problem that you're looking at, there's now a huge network of quite literally thousands of engineers around the world which you can tap into and ask questions and say, hey, has anybody seen this problem before? Has anybody been able to tackle it? And so for me, being part of the Catalyst group, we have a channel internally, and other payment SMEs are throwing questions out there, and I see answers come from all over the globe, and then they'll be able to set up a Teams call and have a chat, or for you guys, Slack, and obviously, I guess, help the client through that problem, or help the engineer learn from other people's lessons. So there's advantages, I think, both on both the client side and from a staff perspective side.
Thanks, Dave. Maybe a question for Osvel and Shelley. Just this is more around Lexicon strengths and what we bring to the relationship together. Maybe you could just sort of shine a bit of a light on that, and maybe Osvel, I'll start with you.
Yep, I would like to think that we bring lots of things to the table. But I will say that apart from a bunch of very smart and good-looking consultants, I would like to mention 3 things. The first one is that we already have good relationships with clients here. People know us in the market. We have kicked a few goals already, have good, good stories out there, so that's what we are bringing. Second one is the localized knowledge, so the knowledge of the market. So yeah, it's great that now we have that global reach, and we can get ideas from across the world. But as Steve mentioned before, yeah, that doesn't work unless we localize it. For example, financial services, yeah, it is a big vertical for Endava. But here in Australia, you need to know about superannuation, right? Particularly how it works. So we bring that to the table. And the third one is, I believe that we have a very good, well-oiled machine for recruitment in the local talent. Yeah, Dave was telling me the other day that, yeah, we have a very good system to get really good people, but it was not like that at the start. So it went through many iterations. So at the start was quite hard, and he did not say that if they recruited me when it was working or when it was not working, but yeah, now I know that yeah, it's a really good, top of the range system.
Thanks, Osvel. Shelley?
So, yeah, in terms of strengths, I think, and it's one of the things I think when we were first putting the Lexicon branding together, I think it was about a year or so ago. Anyway, we did a values-based sort of exercise, and really that was just from chatting to everyone and seeing everyone and what the culture that we had, and definitely like 2 years in, what I've seen and the words that I would use is humble experts is one of the key strengths that I see day in, day out of the people that are in this room. And I love that word humility because, if you look at the definition, humility is freedom from pride and arrogance, right? And what do you get when you're free of, pride and arrogance? Well, you get openness, right? You get openness to learning. You get openness to sharing your knowledge and expertise. So you're going to be much more able to shine through the excellence that you have within. And I think, I think Chris said earlier in terms of how we get on, not only with each other, but with our clients. We're easy to get on with when you're humble. But there is that excellence that's behind that too. And I think, actually just a few little lines I put on the plane, and excuse me if that's a little cheesy, but I do write a bit of poetry now and again. But in terms of what I think the humility really means is, so when the walls fall down, and this is about the walls of the pride and arrogance, and the light shines through, the excellence within is the becoming of you. And that's really how I see this culture and the strengths that we bring to each other and to our customers.
Thanks, Shelley. I want to revisit the conversation about growth. So Steve took us through just how rapidly the business has grown in even just the last 9 months. I think, the Endava team landed here in 2020, 21, grew the business organically, and here we are today, over 1,000 people. There are things that we need to be mindful of, I think, as we grow. As I said before, even for me, it's been difficult to get my head around just how quickly these things can actually happen. So, question for the panel is, what do you think we need to be mindful of as we grow the business in Asia Pacific? I might start with Dave down the end.
For me, it's pretty simple. I think always keeping the client at the center of what we do. I think whenever there's accelerated growth, it's very easy to take your eye off the ball. Obviously, if you don't have happy clients, then you don't have anything. So I would say keep clients at the center of everything.
Great, thank you. Osvel?
Yeah, I'll say internally, I think we need to be mindful of the amount of change. So, we were a company that felt relatively small, almost like a startup in certain ways, and then all of a sudden we are a global, very large company. So there are things that are, processes and things that we need to adapt to and just get used to. But I would say that compared to other places I've been, we have an easier way to navigate this change because the adaptable value. So, and that's something that I've seen in everyone, in all the teams, how everyone seems to be really open to just give it a go and try new things. And not only that, but also I notice in my teams, all the time there is this hunger for challenge. That's a good problem to have, right? When I'm asked, hey, give me something a bit more meaty, give me a more difficult problem to solve, or give me more responsibility, that's just fantastic. So I'm very comfortable that even though we are going to have a lot of change and we need to be mindful of, we are going to be able to get over it very quickly.
Thanks, Osvel. Shelley?
I think it's how we try and maintain this boutique culture that we have. When you become, part of a global organisation, and you can do it, right? You can be a global, but still maintain a boutique culture wherever you're present in the different countries and places that exist. And I think the only way to do that, obviously there's we've gone from, up to 1,000 in quite a short space of time. So there's a larger, in a sense, integration that needs to go on. So more and more people come together in a short space of time. But we're always integrating anyway. There's always going to be new people coming on board. And I think it's just to be mindful that we're always integrating, but it's about how we build relationships and, not, going outside your silos, and silos existing within teams, and just to make sure that we always try and connect with each other. And that takes all of us actually to make the effort to go and have a chat, build a relationship, have a coffee, whatever it is, just to maintain that level of connectivity and closeness with each other.
Yeah, and maybe just before I go to Naren, that one thing that it took months to get my head around actually, and in the first time I saw it was kind of met with opposition, was how Endava are on the business from a structural perspective, with this notion of decomposing the business down into smaller bits actually, and you would think for someone like me that would make immediate sense, but when I first saw it I was like, how does this actually work? I think the construct itself was just too foreign to me to understand. But what I've learned since is actually you do keep a business small by continually decomposing it down into smaller bits that could actually be managed with smaller teams, have a very clear purpose and focus. So, and we spoke about industry verticals being a key part of how Endava goes to market. And so as the business grows, even with 12,000-ish people around the world, the way the business actually works is with small groups of people actually having a really core focus on the customer, and taking the stories around that industry vertical to them. And I think that's the entrepreneurial part of the business that I actually at first didn't understand, but since have come to learn and think that it's a really valuable part of, and probably a big reason as why the company's actually grown so quickly over the years. Naren?
I think I'd go back to our core purpose of being trusted by our customers and by each other within our company. And that's been a core reason for why we've done as well as we have done across the world. We keep that as one of our central tenets. And our CEO kind of said it the other day in our global all hands, which is we do our best work, we achieve our best results when we put our clients above our own revenue interests. And that's something that we live and practice every single day. And that's what gets us into those kind of trusted relationships that with our customers that we have everywhere. What I would look for us to foster within our own company, within our teams, is that ability for each other to, or that enabling each other to do the right thing always, and challenging when we're perhaps straying from that value. And I would add one more thing over here, just the interactions that I've had with everybody over the last 9 months within Lexicon. I've seen the same zeal for doing the right thing always, and I'm really looking forward to what we have coming up ahead.
Thanks, Naren. And just maybe just a final question on capabilities. Like, what are we have so much opportunity to actually do new things with our clients, as our customers in the room might not know. Endava has a whole go-to-market proposition in many industry verticals that far exceed anything that Lexicon's actually ever done before in terms of depth and breadth. So what are the things that you're looking forward to the most, I guess, from this day forward, really? So maybe Dave?
Yeah, for me, I guess, there's loads of opportunity in Australia. So looking from a payments lens from my own perspective. So if I look back at my own career, I've worked with a couple of the major banks, and they service a large proportion of Australians' corporates. And I've been fortunate enough to see inside those corporates and how they operate. And your typical corporate within Australia is kind of structured along the lines of they've got some nice shiny new technology, they've got sort of the workhorse stuff that's doing the majority of the work, and then there's a little room that's locked away somewhere that no one dares go into and touch, and it's got the legacy systems that the guy who retired 5 years ago is basically used to know how it works, and no one knows how it works. When I compare that to I guess consumer expectations today in terms of what they expect from a business, and you look at the gap from the 10 years when those legacy systems were installed to what customer expectations are today, probably people in this room, they expect when they're dealing with their bank or their energy provider or their insurer is they expect app-enabled services, real time, they expect things to happen immediately. If you look back 10 years ago and you look at, it was 5 years off real-time payments existing in Australia, the current generation iPhone was iPhone 5 that wasn't even NFC enabled. Today you expect to be able to tap the phone and make payments. So there's a huge leap forward there. And so I think that the real opportunity here, and the thing I'm excited about, is helping clients navigate that and move forward in time. And so when I look at what that means, they're going to have to move from legacy systems towards more real-time services. So real-time payments, they're going to have to adopt event-driven architectures, potentially look at emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and digital identity. And so there's some really cool stuff there, which I think that when I look forward to the opportunity in Australia, I think there's some quite exciting jobs to be done.
Thanks. Osvel?
Yeah, one capability that excites me and I would like to offer to more clients here is data and cloud. It's not something that we normally have in our repertoire of capabilities, but now with Endava we have access to data engineers, cloud engineers, much more. And if you think about it, the amount of data that companies collect these days, structured and unstructured, is just massive. And all of them have the problem. They need to organize it, they need to clean it, they need to store it, they need to secure it, they need to make use of it, get good insights. So there is a lot of work to be done there that will untap value for clients. And you will say, well, there are lots of cloud and data providers out there. But I think that our advantage is that we are technology agnostic in that case. We work with the client's technology landscape that they have. We adapt to that. And also we have the industry vertical lens. So we understand what data is important for them, what data types are important, and so we bring that also to the table rather than more of a cookie cutter approach.
Thanks, Osvel. Naren?
So this might sound a bit cliche, but if you look at the developments in AI lately, AI and ML, what really excites me is the kinds of problems that we can solve which have a real positive impact in our world right now. And I pick on things like the environmental crisis, for example. And we do work with Rio Tinto, for example, and the opportunity to help them reduce their the impact that they have on the environment, be it ground disturbance or carbon emissions, etc., is huge in being able to leverage all of that data that they have collected over the years and apply a different lens to that data. And I go back in my career a few years where I was working with a structural engineering company. So architects basically dream up grand designs, and it's the structural engineers who actually make it happen. And they had a bit of software in which they would build the structure of a building, and then run simulations on it, earthquakes, floods, wind, etc., and see how it performs. And of course, if it fell over or it wasn't performing, they would go in and change certain aspects of it, perhaps increase the thickness of the concrete or add more steel, etc. Think of it kind of like test-driven development, but for a building, right? And what was happening was the amount of time it took to run these simulations. It would take 36 plus hours to run a full set of simulations. So the structural engineer would basically take a shortcut. They would run it once, they would see how it was going, and they would massively increase the amount of concrete or steel or whatever it was just to get it to pass, and it was done. Now, if thinking back to that problem over there, we reduced the amount of time there to a few hours, where it meant that they were able to willing to run a few more iterations. I mean, the ability was there, and they were willing to do it as well, which refined what they actually put out as the required design. But if I now look back at that through the lens of the computational abilities that we have right now with generative AI and so on and so forth, we could really refine that much better. And if we could cut out, say, 50 trucks of concrete going out to a construction site, that is huge. There is a real impact that we can have on the world, and that really is what excites me about the future right now.
Thanks, Darren. And I know on the AI topic, there's lots of opportunities, but also concerns about where we play, and within the business right now, there's a lot of conversation going on about, ethically, morally, where it's the right place to apply technologies like that. So maybe in another fireside chat in the weeks or months to come, we can explore that a bit further. So I'd like to give a big round of applause for everyone on the panel.